Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Actors Area. I'm your host, Sean Robert Grant. Super excited to be here. Super excited to share with you. Um, Basically, I feel like the golden key, the golden treasure to experiencing not only joy, but freedom and success, not just in your career, but in basically your life, everything that you do. And so, what we must understand as performers, as spiritual beings having a human experience, is this: emotions control everything. Emotions will allow you to move forward or keep you stuck in one place. Okay? Now, before I get into this, some people say, well, why, how is that true? Because there's people out there who are succeeding on an astronomical level and they hadn't really processed all of their emotions. But then all of a sudden you see that person is addicted to drugs. You see that person is addicted to addictive behavior. That person has a vice, and all these things that seem out of whack. What I'm talking about as far as fulfillment, freedom, and success is the idea that you can succeed, have all your wits about you, and still be happy without being lenient or attached to something else, right? It never fails, whenever you see inside of Hollywood how many vices and addictions people tend to have because they have not processed certain emotions, right? And so I did a podcast yesterday talking about pain is your ally. And it's so important because pain contains the message that it contains the message with the motivation that's going to allow you to help and inspire the world, right? But you can't receive that message if you don't process that pain, if you don't process those emotions, right? And how do you process those emotions? You confront them, right? You confront them. And so that's where you have to begin. And so it's really interesting how you can look at what your career looks like. And if you look closely enough and take enough time, you can find a pattern as to how things unfold. See, everything in life has a pattern to it. It's just a matter of figuring out what's the pattern and then what's the causal emotion of the pattern. Okay? So, case in point, when I was doing this work, I had this pattern of what I like to call not enoughness. And this was just not in my career. This was in everything. It was always not enoughness. Or if I expressed enough of my will to exhaust myself, I would get just enoughness. But see, we want to get to the place of more than enoughness. So when you find that pattern, then you have to see, okay, what's causing every situation, instance in my life to come out as an experience of not enoughness. And then I go within. And then I start to deal with, okay, where am I not allowing myself to be more than enough? And every single time, it's about some type of emotion that hadn't been processed when you were a child. It's something you took on and interpreted as something that had to be something else. And it's causing you to kind of go into, you remember when we had those, when we had CDs, and CDs would get scratched and they would just stutter and stutter and stutter and not really move forward unless the car jumped or the CD player jumped. That's exactly what emotions do to your life. They keep you rolling around in that cycle, in that circle, until you bump that emotion by facing it and dealing with it and then moving forward, right? And so, unless we do that, we can find ourselves stuck trying to force things physically, but still not able to make any headway because guess what? Trying to force things to happen physically is impossible by universal law. Like, I mean, yeah, you can try it, but you're not going to make anything unfold because your causal emotion that lies within your soul, the thing that's brewing in your emotional body, is what's going to cause to happen in your life, in your career in this case. And so it's important to deal with that. And so most people say, well, okay, that makes a lot of sense, but how do I know what is the causal emotion and, how do I get to the bottom of it? Well, take a moment, pay close attention at your career because this is about acting. So let's pay attention to closer. Like, are you triggered by certain things? I once met somebody who was triggered by casting directors because they felt like casting directors were condescending upon them. They always felt like the casting director made them feel not good enough to some degree. And, what you're seeing, what you're perceiving out in the world is just a reflection of what you feel about yourself. So if you don't feel enough as an actor and actress about yourself, you may project that onto somebody else who is really attempting to help you to further your career. But unless you're willing to look there, there's nothing you can do about it, right? The first and most important aspect of this is to find out, okay, where am I triggered, right? And when I say triggered, what annoys you, right? What causes a rise in you? What makes you anxious? What makes you angry? What makes you sad? Because it's those things that are going to be the key door, the key opening to helping you figure out why do you feel that way, right? Like, say, for instance, you're an amazing performer. You're an amazing actor. You've always succeeded, but yet and still, you can only book certain level roles. What type of emotion are you brewing in that's stopping you from going to the next level, right? It's something within you that you have to deal with, that you have to face, and until you face it, you may be stuck at that level where you're only getting paid $125 a day for the roles when, if you deal with this, you could move from that to $125,000 for the entire production. It's just that simple when it comes to emotions. Just a simple facing, a simple coming to peace with and accepting that this was a wrong belief from the past that you're processing now in order to move forward. And when you do the work, right, you do the work with this, it frees you. The title talks about freedom in this podcast. And that's what's important, is not to feel shackled to anything, especially from the past, but to be free to go out and move and listen to your intuition and do the thing that's going to help you to be your very best as a performer. That's what counts. And I'm not saying that this is always the easiest thing to do, because guess what? Pain, if you're not ready for it, and if you're not ready to love it unconditionally, can be one of the hardest things that you deal with. But know that you are capable. Know that your heart is ready to receive this, and that you'll come out so much greater on the other side. Okay? So before I get off track, just think about, where are you triggered? What triggers you? Think about your entire career as an actor, an actress, as a performer. Think about, okay, first thing is, what do I do not like about certain things? Write all that stuff down, right? And then when you think about what you don't like, dig deeper. Okay? Why do I feel this way? What causes me to feel this way about this thing? And it will always come back to you feeling some type of way about something in yourself. And all you need to do is face it, love it, and release it. And from there, you'll find yourself all of a sudden, there's no longer an obstacle There's no longer an impediment to you being your very best in this industry. So my homework for you is, what triggers me? What makes me feel uncomfortable in this industry? What makes me feel angry about my career? What makes me feel upset? And all you're doing is just probing to see if there are any leaks, right? Because once you find the leaks, you can fix them, and then you'll find yourself progressing in a better manner, as opposed to being stuck or seemingly running in circles, kind of like that CD we just talked about. So really dive into yourself and find out what triggers you, and go from there. And I promise you, you are going to discover some things that are going to free you up. And when you're free, that is when you can not only be successful, but you can experience fulfillment as well. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. Take care.